This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines, plus those that make you go,
Everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Majlis, the show where we talk about stories shaping the headlines. It's me, Ahmed Dawood, with Rania Saadi and Abdul Karim Hanif. And we have a lot to get to this morning from Sharjah, from the UAE, from the region, and around the world. And one big conversation we'll have later on this hour is about Salam Beirut, a campaign launched by Her Highness Sheikha Jawahar bint Muhammad Al Qasmi, chairperson of the Big Heart Foundation and eminent advocate for refugee children at the UNHCR, and wife of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasmi, member of the Supreme Council and ruler of Sharjah. As part of this campaign, a live fundraising event was held on Sharjah TV's Direct Line Al Khat Al Mubashir program. The event raised a staggering 30.74 million dirhams. So we're going to get into more detail about how this event went, exactly where the funds will go in Lebanon, and we'll also talk about how you could join the efforts to support the people of the embattled country.
Yeah, and Sharjah is also definitely witnessing the implementation of various development projects related to roads, infrastructure, tourism, heritage, environmentally friendly hotels, and also resorts that will definitely shape the future of the region. And you'll be surprised in which regions those projects will take place and how much it's worth and when will those projects be launching. So stay tuned for that conversation as well. It's going to come in a couple of minutes.
It is going to come in a couple of minutes. We'll be discussing also giving you a little bit of a plan for your Friday afternoon. At 1 p.m. we have a new documentary on Al Wusta TV channel from Adhaid, and it's going to be it's going to take you back 130,000 years, as we're going to be talking about what the historical treasures Malaysia has, and why this part of the world is very interesting to showcase the mass migration thousands of years ago. So we'll be discussing all of that as well. So stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back after the short break, and we'll keep you posted, moving and entertained as we count down the weekend. It is Thursday Vibes here in the studios. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. Between local lines, notes from the Emirate. Pulse 95.
Salam Beirut campaign, and it has been a great success in terms of how Sharjawis and Sharjawiyas have responded, as well as citizens and residents across the nation, and it has been raising over 30 million dirhams in the broadcast of the Khat Al Mubashir. So 30.74 million dirhams were raised on the live TV event for Arabs and people across the globe to be supporting Lebanon. Less than 24 hours after the Big Heart Foundation had announced this global campaign, Sharjah TV's popular program Direct Line Khat Al Mubashir had successfully raised that, with dozens of charitable individuals and organizations calling in to make their generous contributions.
Yes, and His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasmi, member of the Supreme Council and ruler of Sharjah, called on Arab countries to stand up and support the Lebanese people in their ordeal so they are not left as other countries were, pointing out that Arabs can heal their wounds with their own hands and that Lebanon was and still is part of the Arab nation and not absent from it. His Highness also said, I thank Her Highness Sheikha Jawahar bint Muhammad Al Qasmi, chairperson of the Big Heart Foundation and eminent advocate for refugee children at UNHCR, for her leading efforts in garnering overwhelming support for our brothers and sisters over there in Lebanon. I pay tribute to the precious lives lost to this tragedy and wish those who were hurt a speedy recovery. The Sharjah ruler also added by saying, we thank everyone who has come forward to help Lebanon cope with this unprecedented tragedy through their good deeds and words. This is the time to stand with the Lebanese people, not the time to meddle with politics or past issues.
Yes, indeed, Rania, and this campaign is strongly in line with the humanitarian spirit and directives of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasmi. Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah, to stand by others in their time of need. This campaign was launched by the Big Heart Foundation by Her Highness Sheikha Jawahar bint Muhammad Al-Qasimi, chairperson of the Big Heart Foundation. And the goal of the campaign was to focus on providing medical aid, food, water supplies, and shelter to victims hurt by the Beirut blast. This campaign is also held in cooperation with the on-ground relief operators in Lebanon. And with these funds now, they'll also carry out a detailed assessment of the damage to property in order to implement targeted activities and provide affected households with the rehabilitation and support that they need, including rubble removal, in addition to offering solutions to boost a number of sectors, namely electricity, sanitation, plumbing, carpentry maintenance, and healthcare. And that's a pretty big one, supporting Lebanon's embattled healthcare sector, which has taken a major hit with half of its major health centers shut down as a result of the Beirut blast.
Yep, and Fouad Shahab Nabih Dandan, the Lebanese ambassador to the United Arab Emirates, extended the gratitude of Lebanese citizens and residents to Her Highness Sheikha Jawahar Al-Qasimi for quickly responding to the situation with the Salam Beirut Aid and Relief campaign. Once again, the reason why we're discussing this is a total of 30,741,000 dirhams were pledged on the show, with Sharjah Islamic Bank donating 6 million dirhams and the Bank of Sharjah, Hamid
Just an hour and a half only.
Yeah, just an hour and a half during that broadcast of the special show, Khat al-Mubashir, that was dedicated towards the Salam Beirut campaign. And what's very warming and something to really offer the comfort as well as the statements coming out from our leadership here in the Emirate of Sharjah. Her Highness Sheikha Jawahar bint Muhammad Al-Qasimi, the chairperson of the Big Heart Foundation and the eminent advocate for refugee children at the UNHCR, said, "What has hurt Lebanon has hurt us all." And then His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan bin Muhammad Al-Qasimi, member of the Supreme Council and ruler of Sharjah, also noted that Lebanon, the land of culture and giving, the nation that once home to all Arabs, has given us numerous poets and artists. It is not unknown to anyone. We're rooting for you, Lebanon. We will never abandon you. And he also concluded his address by saying, "I hope whoever hears my words will support, even it is with the word. We need to feel that we can heal each other's wounds, support each other. I wish all of you the success until we meet at the celebration that will mark Lebanon's freedom. The day will come." So very warm and comforting indeed. We'll continue to keep you entertained and informed throughout the morning majlis. It's time now for us to take a bit of a short break, prepare for the world of sports headlines, and we shall return right after that with more discussions right here on the morning majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Join the conversation, text us at 4215 throughout the program. And we're discussing the Russian coronavirus vaccine. That's been a topic of conversation, with news outlets picking up on it as of late. And in fact, a lot of global health experts opining as well about the efficacy of this vaccine. So we'll start with what Russia's been responding to, a wave of criticism from those health experts and media outlets, saying that, or let's start with what Russia said. They have rejected what they considered and described as groundless safety concerns that were aired by experts over Moscow's rapid approval of the drug. President Vladimir Putin saying that Russia had become the first country to grant regulatory approval to a COVID-19 vaccine after less than 2 months of human testing. The vaccine has not yet completed its final trials, according to reports. Only about 10% of clinical trials are successful, and some scientists, the global health community, are worried that Moscow might be putting people's safety at risk by putting forth an untested vaccine.
Yeah, so what do we know so far about this vaccine? Well, the vaccine has been dubbed as Sputnik 5 in reference to the first artificial satellite Sputnik 1, which was launched by the USSR back in 1957. Now, it has been developed by the Gamaleya Research Institute of Epidemiology and Microbiology in Moscow, which is part of Russia's Ministry of Health. The vaccine would be administered in 2 shots, 21 days apart. Both shots contain modified adenoviruses, which would ordinarily cause a common cold. Both have been given the gene for the spike protein from the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. This protein allows the virus to enter human cells. In theory, this should prime the immune system for an encounter with the actual coronavirus. Now, known as a viral vector, this is a fairly standard approach to a vaccine. Other groups are pursuing similar methods, but those trials are supposed to start in October. That was announced.
Yes, and what we do know so far is that it remains the first coronavirus vaccine approved for use. Though a Chinese vaccine had been cleared earlier for limited use to be administered only on soldiers of the People's Liberation Army. At the moment, it is unclear how well Russia is going to be able to produce 1.5 million doses per year, and they are looking at the capacity of that at the moment. But so far, there were reports saying that requests for 1 billion doses of the vaccines had been received from other countries, and that international agreements had been secured to produce 500 million doses annually. It did not name the countries which have showed interest in the Russian vaccine for the time being. But it's going to be interesting to see how, when they start exporting it, for example, how the individual health organizations of each country is going to receive it, how receptive they're going to be towards it to say, you know what, we need to do our own trials, or they're going to be trusting whatever phases it had gone through.
Yeah, and the World Health Organization said it was holding talks with Russia regarding its recently approved COVID-19 vaccine and assessing just how much testing had been done. Now, Russia, for its part, says that it is undergoing phase 3 trials, but the World Health Organization has come to different conclusions. They said we're not past phase 1. Phase 1 is where you test the safety of your medication or vaccine. And they said, according to the statement from the World Health Organization, quote, "We are in close contact with Russian health authorities, and discussions are ongoing with respect to possible WHO pre-qualification of the vaccine." But again, pre-qualification of any vaccine includes the rigorous review and assessment of all required safety and efficacy data. This is according to the WHO spokesperson Tarik Jasarevich. And when the World Health Organization issues its approvals, the world will follow suit as the premier World Health Organization. But they are also expressing great skepticism about this development. But they are in contact with the Russian health authorities to determine just how far Russia's gone as far as testing is concerned.
Yeah, continuing on what you're saying, Ahmed, the testing process of new vaccines must normally pass 3 tests before they can be used widely. A phase 1 trial involves a small number of volunteers and is intended to determine a safe dose. Phase 2 requires more people because it tests whether the vaccine triggers an immune system or immune response, and it also looks more carefully for side effects. Then a large phase of phase 3 trial is used to find out whether the vaccine actually protects against infection. Now, this is not a normality. A vaccine might trigger an immune response in phase 2, but this may not be enough to confer real immunity in phase 3. So in other words, the vaccine hasn't been through the full tests, let's just say. Without the data from phase 1 and 2, we don't know how safe it is. And without phase 3, we don't know if it works. That's it.
Yeah, phase 3 is when the large-scale testing happens on a wider population, and we've seen that happen here in the United Arab Emirates with the UAE and China collaborating with the Abu Dhabi-based healthcare group called G42. And the idea is that they are going through the phase 3 clinical trials, and it's going to be some time before we can get the full nod to say, okay, this vaccine is ready to go. The Russian vaccine uses adapted strains of the adenovirus, a virus that usually causes the common cold, to trigger an immune response. And this is why the backlash or the controversial responses are coming through, because say the vaccine's approval by the Russian regulators comes before the completion of a larger study, which is the standard phase 3 trial. However, Russia says the vaccine had proven to be very highly effective and safe. Is it though? Is it going to be that popular? Is it humankind's victory, as the Russians describe it as? Only time shall tell. But so far we know over 100 vaccines are in this quest to become the lethal weapon against the spread of COVID-19. Well, time now for us to take a bit of a breather. For the time being, we can only hope and pray that things do get better. Stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back after the short musical interval, and we'll continue the discussions right here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Hello, welcome back onto the Morning Majlis. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit more about how companies can go paperless and businesses, and what's going on across the globe, and what is actually driving the world of paperless, apart from Greta Thunberg being very vocal across the globe, but it's all about business resilience, especially during the time of the pandemic. To talk to us about paperless strategies, improving business functionality, we have Lukasz Spirala, who is the operations manager and GCC for the GCC region from Infinite IT Solutions. So very good morning to you, Lukasz. Talk to us about the world of paperless. Why are we going paperless, and what's the big driving force behind it?
Good morning, marhaba everyone. Thanks for having me. I hope you are doing well.
We are gearing up. We've got no papers in the studio. We all got laptops, tablets, right, and listening to you via Zoom. Yeah, exactly. Completely digital.
That's the only reason I accepted this interview.
Right. So let's start talking about paperless for businesses. How can they go paperless?
Well, paperless is definitely a buzzword these days. It's as popular as digital transformation, I would say, but both actually can mean the same. The power, the beauty of paperless is that any company can adopt this strategy. Doesn't matter what type of industry a company represents. Of course, there are certain sectors with a very high volume of documents, like retail, logistics, distribution, insurance, automotive, etc. So these guys more likely would be focusing on going paperless. But me personally, I enhance companies to start working on data automation, which we can call paperless 2.0. But what it means, it actually helps organizations to exchange documents or data with its business partners completely touchless. That's also a very popular word these days. And by doing so, the data is fully validated and it comes to your IT system, your ERP system, without any human's intervention. Many companies have been practicing what I'm calling paperless 1.0, which is based on sharing email with attachments, but still, we need someone to do so. It requires a person to send an email. It requires a person to receive that email and eventually enter data into the respective system. With paperless 2.0, paper is completely eliminated. So is manual intervention process. So that helps companies to validate this data and, of course, ensure everything is going very smoothly.
So, Lukasz, when we're talking about our, for example, GCC region as a whole, how fast is the region adapting to paperless strategies and this trend?
Yeah, thanks for this question. As you were mentioning in the intro, the ongoing COVID-19 situation has changed the way we live, the way we commute, do our grocery, and also the way we do our business. We run businesses, and of course, it had a positive impact on companies thinking this direction to go paperless. I also noticed similar interest in the area of paperless digital invoicing or digital archiving back in 2017. So it was just before VAT introduction to the UAE. So these two situations definitely show that the region is adopting and thinking this way. But the main drivers, the main initiatives would be driven by the local authorities. I can see how many new technological projects are happening under the Sharjah government, and also the startup scene is growing rapidly in Sharjah. Of course, there are other important projects like Smart Dubai, and all these kind of initiatives inspire local entrepreneurs, local businesses, also to think the same way. And when we think globally, of course, there are certain leaders in this domain. I would call European countries and Far East countries. And those have been adopting national B2B or B2G invoicing platforms. But similar trends are already happened in Turkey, another Middle Eastern country, and also started in Egypt and Jordan. So I believe while UAE would adopt a similar strategy, of course, it would also change the regional approach of going paperless.
Can you elaborate more on how going paperless is a lot more efficient than the alternative? Can you just basically talk to us more about why going paperless is beneficial?
Right. So first and foremost, cannot be forgotten, you are eco-friendly. And that's something which I always remind, despite it's so obvious. But I would say by going paperless, first of all, we can work smarter, better, and more efficient. So companies can actually gain a lot, because paperless doesn't only offer a paper elimination, it offers processes automation, high data accuracy, and security, something which we cannot be promised by doing business on paper. So companies can reduce their running costs, they can free up resources from their repetitive tasks, so they can focus on some core business activities, and it helps them to grow, enter new markets, unleash employees' true potential. So that would be the benefits.
You said it was more secure. Can you elaborate on that particular aspect?
Well, we use different technology, and companies are adopting their digital signatures. There's a timestamp, so certain digital certificates which ensure that document hasn't been edited, document has been issued by this particular company, which only has access to this certificate. And it also allows you to store this data on the cloud. You don't need a physical storage, keeping paper for extended period of time. So having the right technology in place and understanding this, how to use it, you can ensure that all documents are safe and secure.
I just want to delve a little bit more into this as well. If there's someone who works in the publishing industry, newspapers, magazines, even brochure printing, digital or general printing industry, they'll be listening to this conversation and would like to shut the radio down. They'll be like, okay, I'm turning it off, I'm switching channels, moving on to music, lighten my mood up. But for them, do you think e-paper, website e-publishing or even website optimization is the future that they should look forward to, or the traditional approach to say, look, I'm going to remain clinging onto my printing machine because that's the way I want to live? What's your take on that?
Well, definitely times are changing rapidly, and more rapid than before. And even companies from industries you mentioned, they're also adopting to this change and the trend. So despite the fact that company publishes or been publishing magazines, they are also trying to be very active in a digital space, having a dedicated website, dedicated blogs, or even entering a podcast zone. So definitely those companies also understand that trends of the readers, of the customers have changed. People prefer to read magazine on their tablets, on their smartphones with bigger screens. So definitely it's also adopting.
Wow. So you think we will reach an era where everything will be paperless, or is that far from now? Just curious on your opinion.
This is what I love about this country, and people here like anything is possible and thinking this direction. Still some baby steps are being taken over here, and I can see a huge difference in 2020 when I compare to 2014 when I started my business journey in the UAE. Awareness has changed. I'm also pretty sure that our company, Finality Solutions, has educated lots of companies over here to going this way, to going digital way, and they already took the steps in order to this direction. But diplomatically, I will not answer this question.
That's amazing. Well, Lukasz, thank you for joining us today. Just a bit of a wonderful understanding on how we can all go digital and go paperless 2.0, a buzzword that we will now carry and see how this can benefit the SMEs and can benefit everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we look forward to welcoming you in the studios at some point soon in the near future.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Lukasz Spirala, who is the operations manager for the GCC region, talking to us about all things digital, all things paperless 2.0. We'll be back on the Morning Majlis again with some discussions, but for now, we'll give you a paperless song at the moment. So I was trying to find paper planes, but we'll let it be for the time being.
Right.
Well, stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back after the short musical interval.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.